It's still cut out. I don't know why. It still didn't catch it, but screw it.
You're just doing it just all the time now. You're just doing it deliberately.
I'm not.
You've got it set up. I mean, the thing is, I never know, because I never go back and watch the live stream. I listen to the audio of the podcast. Hello, podcast listeners. But I never go back and watch the stream, so I never know. So you could actually just be BSing me.
Yeah, I mean, nobody remembers after the first 5 seconds any of that anyway. So
no, exactly. Who are we again?
I don't even remember. I have managed to hit. Well, actually, you ask who are we again. I can very easy now just play our names because I set up a new one that has our names in the right places. Hooray! That's the kind of crap I do.
Oh yes, I've got that. My stream had the longest advert on it.
Did it?
It was still going, that advert. I was talking about when we were off camera. It's still going. About abs. How to get new abs.
War Machine says
just checking that you know that we're not live.
Are we not?
Oh, hang on. I can see us though.
Are you being silly, War Machine? I think he's being silly with us. We definitely should be live.
Are you messing with us, War Machine? You trying to screw up the podcast?
All podcast listeners now are just sitting there going, what are these nutters up to? VJ says, hello,
morning,
Mr. Morph.
Morph.
And we've got Vic Leak as well, says yes. Yes, Vic Leak, yes.
Okay. I can't see Vic Leak's comment.
Can you not? Very weird.
No, I can see more from War Machine of Florian, but not Vic Leak.
Weird. But if you're still on,
because you mentioned it earlier,
say hello.
Yeah.
Say hello again.
I can't see it on. Okay.
So
maybe I've accidentally blocked it.
So yeah, we are live again. Welcome to the show. Whether you're watching us live or whether you're listening on the podcast later, welcome one and all. And we have possibly quite a relevant subject this evening. I think it's always a relevant subject actually, but I think in light of what previous
irrelevant. Did you say?
relevant, not irrelevant.
Oh, sorry.
Particularly relevant at most times, but even more so at the minute, and especially after I watched a little bit of Andy from Blackjack broadcast yesterday, and he was talking about how current events could be changing the look of the landscape of gaming forever. So yeah, we'll come on to that in a little while, but we've got a few other little bits and bobs first, but not too much this evening, you said, Rob?
Before we get to our main topic tonight, which is stuff addiction, we're going to do a little rundown of our fortnight in gaming world. I've been mainly obsessed with getting over COVID, or the family getting over COVID, and going back to school. So my gaming news and knowledge is pretty slim on the last couple of weeks.
Yep, same here. Not so much with the COVID side, but the getting back to school bit. But I think this week I have mostly been fixated on Kill Team. So I finally put the models together, and our viewers at home can see this, but our podcasters can't. But you probably saw a picture on Facebook if you follow us. I have put all of the things into binders now. Oh, they're all binded up.
Well, yes, this is basically the only reason we get these things. So we can cut the books up and put them in spiral bound. We never play them.
No.
Yes, that's one of the most exciting things about playing games, isn't it? Spiral binding.
Pretty much, and they're never touching me ever again. They just go on the shelf behind me, and much like you can see on the shelf behind me, there's things like you probably can't quite see, it's just out of shot, but there's a Marvel Crisis Protocol, and there's Blitz Bowl and Aeronautica Imperialis and all that kind of stuff.
I painted some of the terrain, some of the terrain for Kill Team. I haven't got back to it yet. I've only done one piece, and I want to get back to it and do some more. But I've been painting up the Gore chosen for our game this week. We have sent us. I can't say anything more about it at the moment, but it's in the mess, and we're looking forward to playing those. So we'll play those on Thursday night, but you won't be able to see it till Saturday morning.
Yep.
And then next week we're going to play, because we've also got the new Rivals deck. We're going to play that live.
Are you even meant to mention it yet? Are we allowed to mention the new Rivals deck? Have they mentioned?
Well, they've announced it. They've announced it.
I don't know. I can't remember these days.
I saw something that said they announced it. So because I haven't seen very much about it, yeah, they haven't announced it. So we're playing with the Rivals deck. I hope I haven't screwed in there, but I'm pretty sure I haven't. So that's what we've got coming up.
Yep.
We've also got this War of the Ring card game playing live this Thursday, the day after tomorrow.
The day after tomorrow.
Today's Tuesday. So we're on podcast where we're
It's not going to be quite
recording
as
this
good
on
as the
Tuesday.
film, but...
The film, no. The video, no, probably not. But it's a fun game. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't played it 2-player yet, so it'll be interesting playing that live for the first time. I played it 4-player with my kids. My kids really like it. We're talking about this more than I do. My kids really like it, and actually really got them into the Lord of the Rings. And then we followed that up with the Rings of Power. So we're actually my son said to me today, in fact he said it twice today, "Oh, I love the Lord of the Rings." I've been waiting so long.
You just wipe a tear from your eye.
So long.
It's like...
I mean, we say that we say we don't have favourites, but I do.
Well, yeah, I agree. I mean, I never said I had a favourite. Then my eldest played, oh god, that game I've got to bring back to you, the German one.
Undaunted.
Yeah, we played some games of that. So,
Undaunted.
yeah.
Oh yeah, did you enjoy it?
Yeah, and he quite enjoys it too. So it's very hard to tell.
Go on.
I was just going to say, it's very hard to tell with young teenagers because you're like, are they enjoying it? Are they just doing it because, they think it's something I want them to be doing? And I don't know. But he seemed to, so hopefully he did.
Yeah.
We're probably going to...
Did he get him the Stalingrad one for Christmas now?
Yeah. He hasn't asked for it, but he's getting it.
Yeah.
I think he'd quite like that, actually, and especially the Battle for Britain one as well. Definitely looking forward to both of those.
Yeah, that's sadly, that'll be his birthday, because that's not out till the spring next year. But, yeah. I'm assuming he hasn't got a birthday in October. But anyway, that's besides the point. That's my life. I tell you who has got a birthday in October, and that is us.
Ooh,
we will be X years old. We'll be X years old soon. We'll have to do a little X years old video. I'm saying it because I can't remember.
I think we'll be 7, won't we?
I think it's either 6 or 7. It's 6 or 7. I can't remember. That's what happens when you get old. You can't remember how old you are.
Yeah. And YouTube channel years are like dog years, so there's like 7. So we're well into middle age now, I think.
Well, it's actually how old I am.
Yeah.
7.
There you go.
So there you go. That's exciting.
We've got some comments in the chat already. Morph says he didn't see me and Andy's chat. I didn't post anything, Morph. I was just listening a little bit in the background just to see what his theory was and what was going to break things, and I'll mention it a bit later on when we come on to that bit. But I didn't have time to actually comment at all. He also asks, did we get a chance to play any Blitz Bowl when we played, like we mentioned the other week? We haven't yet, only because we've had a slew of other things come along. But I'd say it's definitely on our list of games to play live in the near future. After Bladeborn and Fireteam, I think that's going to be one of the next logical, sort of quick to play sort of GW games.
I think so.
Stay Northern.
It was good fun. It was good fun. The stream was quite popular, wasn't it? So
yeah.
I think we will play more of those small box GW games. So I think the next time we get a window, it'll probably be Blitzball, because we've done the other 2.
Yeah. Stone Northern popped in. He says, has he missed anything about New Kill Team yet? No, we haven't talked about that yet. Or have we had a chance to play it? And if so, what do we think? We haven't had a chance to play it, unfortunately. I suspect the first time we come to play it will be when we play it live.
Yeah, and it'll probably be week after next at the earliest. And even then, it won't be with the new guys, because they won't be painted. So we're very slow. If GW want a fast turnaround on our stuff, then we're the wrong people to come to.
I think if we played it live like we were going to play a really basic game, like just a leader and the rest are just grunts with maybe a special weapons guy or something, I reckon we could possibly play that with them just painted black. And I don't think that's too much in the grand scheme of things.
Might offend me deeply, but we could maybe do that.
Mr. Morph says he's picked up on Dawn of Normandy. He's pretty keen to play that. There's a solo game, I think, which War Machine was playing the other day. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think you have to buy the reserves pack or reinforcement or something it's called. I think, but I haven't tried it because I know that much as I like the idea of solo games, the reality is I won't get them to.
You'll never actually get.
I won't get them to the table.
Yeah.
No. I thought I might get a bit more time. The children have gone back to school, but it turns out that was bollocks too. Solo,
it's all bollocks.
Yeah, absolutely.
War Machine says we're big game celebs now, with everyone giving us their games to review. Well, it's funny because even when we had like no subscribers, we started out by getting like the new AOS game, the first version of that, didn't we? And then we got not Blitzball. We got Blood Bowl when that came out. So it's been quite funny how we've got some.
It's random. When you get on a list, it's a bit random. But we've been reaching out to other companies, which is quite nice. But I've been trying to. I've haven't stopped writing for Geek Dad, but I've stopped reviewing games for Geek Dad because they have a very specific policy for reviewing games, and it involves writing an awful lot. And I end up playing the games, having thoughts on the games, and then never finding the time to actually write them up properly. And so, then I end up letting the company down. So what I've said now is basically, we'll do it on agents, and then I know that Pete and I will definitely record something, and then the video is as good as picture page 1,000 words and all that. So it's as good as me writing 13,000 words about a game, which I've done before. And it takes a long time. I mean, I love doing it, but I just don't seem to have the time now. So we'll be doing. So we'll be. Probably might mean we have a bit less reach. Geek Dead obviously has got much bigger viewership than me, but people are still interested, and we are, as I said, we've got the War of the Ring from Ares Games, the card game, which I'm really looking forward to showing off because I think it's really great.
You get to watch us all that on Thursday.
So, I'm really pleased, happy that they agreed to send us that, and that's really nice.
I do think that almost every game, and I know GW are never going to do this, but I think every game out there should come up with like a set of solo rules, like a basic AI. Like Black Fortress was a great example of that, and I think Cursed City as well, because you can play those solo and you just control all the heroes.
So, unsurprisingly, solo game modes have become much bigger in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So that when you look at the review, I've actually got the Tabletop Gaming magazine next to me here. When you look at the reviews of new games, most of them, not most of them, but a higher percentage of them are for 1 to 4 players now.
Yeah.
Because I think because people think about that when they were designing them.
Everyone's turned into massive loners who don't go out anymore, so can't afford to go out.
Yeah, well, exactly. I barely go out. Well, you can't go. I can't afford to go out. Can't afford to stay in.
Yeah.
What can you do?
Yeah. So I don't know if we've actually got very much. I mean, both of us have been, like you say, it's been a bit busy with school and stuff at the minute. So I don't think we've got very much in the way of community shout outs or anything like that at the minute.
No, I mean we've got what have we released? If you haven't seen it, we did the Into the Dark unboxing for the new Kill Team.
Yeah.
He mentioned that we've got the unboxing. If you want to have a look at that, and we did our Get On Board live stream, which wasn't massively watched, but it's a really great little family game. If you want to look at that. I did notice, I haven't realised, I kind of knew it was designed by some Japanese people. We've got a random Japanese retweet in the middle of the week. I don't know if you saw that.
I did see that.
It's from the original designers of the original version of the game.
Oh, brilliant.
That was quite nice.
I was looking at thinking, how do I translate this?
Well, yeah, I didn't try to translate it, but no. It's quite nice. I'm hoping that through that contact with the Cold Spring game, we can do more other stuff, board games. But we'll see. I'm not sure the 100 views it got may not make them think we're worth it. But hopefully they do. Because the content was obviously first class and excellent.
Yeah, I mean, once you got close-up cam in there and stuff, I think it was absolutely perfect.
I had a very good example of how not to play the game as well. My performance was shambolic. My wife often said. So
I mean, it's nice to win a game for once.
Solo. The community shout out. It's us this week.
Yeah.
It's shouting out ourselves.
Because we're awesome.
We're brilliant. Like and subscribe and all that jazz. We are now 2 weeks away. I think the 24th of September, so just over 2 weeks away.
Not long.
We've got agents on now. We've had people not know what date it is. People turn up already a month in advance.
Bless you, Rosa. Bless you.
So please don't come on any other day other than the 24th of September, which is a Saturday. It's in Market Harbour. You can get some tickets through Will and Games. If you'd like to come, we'd love to see you, meet you, play some Underworld, play some board games, play whatever. Eat thoroughly afterwards. That's not included in the ticket. Just have fun, really. So I've got a little curiosity shout out, but Underworld, people who do still follow us for our very few and far between Underworld's content. The guy who now looks after the Tempo blog, I think it's Compact. I don't know, that's obviously not his real name. Graham. I think he is now running a tournament. He's organised a tournament for Underworld. Unfortunately, I've forgotten the date. We just saw it today. I didn't write it down. But he's running and that's up in Peterborough, Cambridgeshire, that way, somewhere. So he's running a championship tournament. So I imagine that'd be pretty good. And attracts probably because he's one of the better, he's one of the top players. I imagine that'll attract a good quality of player if you are into Underworld and want to play a championship tournament. Check that out. It's on the Facebook pages, and I'm sure it's in the Underworld Discord as well. So that's a little last minute community shout out.
I do actually have another community shout out, which we might have you done before, but given we're talking about Underworlds again, I'm just going to put a reminder out there for Underworlds DB because, he just keeps crashing away with it. It's still there. It has everything on it you want. I've been using it a lot recently with doing my no fuss all action cuts of the game. I'm sticking the overlays and stuff back in, so I've been using that for the cards and things again. And it's kind of like one of those things. It's a bit like Wikipedia that everyone just assumes it's always there, and if it goes down or it's gone, everyone's going to suddenly be like, "Oh my god, what do I do?" So I just wanted to put another shout out for them because it's definitely one of the best Underworld's resources around. I feel, apart from us.
Yes. Yeah, it is really good. I do like it. I mean, I must confess, it has got the Rivals decks on there and stuff, but I obviously use it a lot less now. Now we don't play Championship, but it was the way to play for me to get through decks and things. I noticed Morph has mentioned various LCGs, living card games. The Lord of the Rings LCG is fun, Morph, if you like the Lord of the Rings. Obviously, if you don't, probably not very much fun, but it's really hard. I have actually enjoyed the Lord of the Rings more in the end, and the Arkham Horror Box I couldn't really get into. But I know War Machine likes a bit of Lord of the Rings. I'm hoping to do some Lord of the Rings. This is what I'm hoping to free up some time to play some. But I'm just a bit slow, really. Morph says he won't make Age Squad. Yeah, I think your excuse, Morph.
Yeah, I think
don't need to bump off any rich relatives.
Yeah, I've just posted the link in Facebook for the Facebook link and the Will and Games link, so hopefully people can get that. And anybody listening to this on the podcast, you can literally just go to Facebook or just go to Google and type Facebook AgentsCon 22 and it'll be the first thing that comes up. And you can go to Will and Games and type in AgentsCon and it'll come up in there if you want to buy a ticket.
Sterling is the wrong side of the pond, sadly.
Yeah.
But he was meant to come over. But sadly couldn't come over. Well, if you ever do come over, Sterling, do try and drop in and say hello.
Yeah.
That would be cool. All Tim says the thing I mentioned, I said it was Peterborough, Cambridge. Why it's in Cambridge? He's sort of implying that I was terrible, but I think I was reasonably close. Cambridge is in Cambridgeshire.
No, I think he was asking about, because he asked to post it below, and I was like, well, I was asking what did he need, and he was saying the Cambridge thing.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I haven't got the link handy.
I posted them all in there. So they're all in there.
But you've done it as well. Brilliant. Okay. Excellent. Okay, Lord of the Rings LCG is decent. Yeah, I mean it is a really good game. The Lord of the Rings LCG. It's quite time consuming and bloody hard. You want to win all the time. If you want to win all the time, don't play it. But it is really good. But I think it's one of those ones. I think I haven't got a massive experience. Marvel Champions, you could sort of pick it up and you'll probably win. You won't need to do much tinkering. But I feel like the Lord of the Rings one is much more upfront puzzle in the sense that you have to. The only way to win is to build a deck to win. If
much tinker is needed.
That makes any sense. So you have to kind of reiterate unless you're particularly once you've worked out that deck.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never got to that stage, but I think also depending on what you're playing, you can't just have one deck that obliterates everything because there's different challenges. That require you to bring in new cards and think a little bit differently about it. So there we go. Yeah.
Morph says he loves the Lord of the Rings films. The books are good, but a bit long, and the Hobbit movies blow. I think I agree on all three of those statements. I mean, I
have only. Go on.
I was going to say I've watched all the Hobbit films. I didn't mind them. I did find them all were stringing stuff out way too long, because obviously it's 3 films based on 1 book, and not a particularly long book at that. So I did feel like they were a bit overdone. It could have been at most 2 films, but really it should have been 1 film.
I have only seen the first film, and it just made me so sad. I've not watched the other 2. Yeah, I just couldn't bring myself to do it.
And of course there is the Rings of Power, which I watched. I wasn't particularly interested in, but I've watched, and they were okay too. I mean, I definitely get a feel when you're watching those that you're watching movie grade stuff. It's definitely absolute top quality sort of effects and visuals and attention to detail and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, it should, for the amount of money they've spent on it.
Yeah, my family are enjoying it, which is nice. So I said, well, this Friday, this is what we're watching on telly. And they all sat and watched it. And they all sat and watched the second episode the next day. So they're enjoying it, which is good. And I have my reservations, but I'm also, I've tried to avoid any of the pre-publicity. And I don't watch too many of the trailers. So I came with as few preconceptions as possible. And it doesn't stink by any stretch of the imagination. There's some things I'm a bit unsure about, and some things that I really quite like about it. What is interesting is I've got snippets of things that they didn't have, they don't have the rights for. So effectively they only have the rights for everything that's in the Lord of the Rings and the appendices of the Lord of the Rings, and they don't actually have any rights to anything in the Silmarillion.
Okay.
Even though, so somebody was telling me that, my brother-in-law, he was telling me that basically you don't hear. Galadriel only refers to him as a brother. She doesn't say Finrod because they're not allowed to use Finrod because he's not in the Lord of the Rings.
That's weird.
Just seems crazy to me. Maybe they're hoping that they can sell the film right, for a film with the Silmarillion, and that's why it just seems crazy to me why you would say, yes, please use our material for this series, but that you can't have access to the things that make the series make more sense.
You can't have his name.
Do you know what I mean?
You can't have his name.
If you want it to be good, surely you should give access. But I mean, I don't know anything.
Yeah, it does sound a bit nonsense.
There may be reasons.
I did find myself watching it and kind of thinking at several points that Lenny Henry was going to break into one of his Jamaican accent, over the top impression type things, because his accent is so borderline. I'm just expecting him any moment. I'm not even going to pretend to try to attempt it, but yeah, just seeing him talk like that, just at any moment I feel like he's going to break into that kind of...
More so that they've got Finrod in the subtitles. That's quite funny.
That's how they got around it. They can type.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining a scene now where Gladiator just sort of comes out and just holds up a placard with his name on. Just holds up.
This is a Silmaril.
Yeah. Come over here.
I one of the I don't know whether I would rather they did it differently or not, but the kind of regional accents of the not hobbits and the dwarves, like the dwarves have Scottish accents and the half the Irish accents. It sort of irritates me a little bit.
It's very stereotypical.
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of, I don't know, that frustrates me. But I love that Lenny Henry is in it.
Yeah,
and I love, because he is from the West Midlands. He must have grown up not that far away from where Tolkien.
Yeah.
I think it's really nice as a sort of continuity thing, and then also a kind of, people complain that Tolkien isn't very diverse, but I think that sort of misses the point.
I do like the fact. Sorry, go on.
No, go on, you can.
I was just going to say, I do like the fact that they have decided they aren't going to do the things that Tolkien wrote about. They are going to have varying, colours of people. They can't really say ethnicities because they're all like half-foots or whatever they're called, or dwarves. But I do like the fact that there are people of all different shades in the show. It's not just a bit like Lord of the Rings was, where it's just like a bit whitewash.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like Tolkien, obviously, he wrote his books in the 30s, 40s, 50s. Yeah. And they were a reflection of the time. And this now, possibly, is how it would be written now.
I think so.
I mean, this is a reflection of our times. It's different times.
Yeah.
So I think that is great. I mean,
the only thing I don't like is that Durin's wife doesn't have a beard.
But I can't remember the female dwarf having beards thing. I don't remember if it's a Tolkien thing or a thing. I just can't remember them.
I'm pretty sure it is. I know that there's the bit in the film where what's his face goes on about it, and how, you know, people say there are no such things as dwarf women, but it's because they look very much like dwarf men. And there is a bit in there about how there's only like 1/3 of the race is female to male or whatever it is, and the women don't tend to go out very much, all that kind of stuff. So I can't remember. I'm pretty sure there is something.
The cooking.
Exactly.
Yeah, with a writer of his time.
Definitely a bit of that. So I love the fact that they've got people of all different colours in there now. I just wish that they'd given the women. They didn't have to be ridiculously big, like fluffy beards like the rest of the dwarves, but it would have been nice to see like a feminized version, or, you know, just maybe a more cultivated beard on the women, maybe with more sort of like. I saw some pictures of. I can't remember what I saw on a website, but I saw some pictures of the female dwarves, and they had lots more embellishments in their beards, and they were more neat and tidy and more stylish. And I kind of like that idea that the female dwarves would spend a lot more time making their beards look a bit more presentable, whereas the male dwarves are just lazy and can't be bothered to shave.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And I should go down this avenue live without thinking about it, but I will. I saw some comments, some random comments about people moaning about it being also, you know, inclusive of LGBT and the rest of the spectrum, you know, alphabet. But I don't notice anything in that. So either it was very subtle, I didn't notice it, or the people moaning about it haven't actually watched it, because I don't think there's any. You know,
yeah.
we haven't really been any relationships really at all of any sort.
Nothing that really stands out, at least, where you'd go, oh, that's that child's mother's or whatever it is. I mean.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I think of any sort. I mean, the mother of there's only one child in it really. I suppose you've got the half, haven't you? But there's no obvious familial relationships of any type.
There's the mother. There's the mother and the son. Where they first come into contact with the North.
Yeah, we don't know whether the other parent
is
male or female.
No, you don't. No,
or whatever. So it just kind of just hammer home. People don't actually watch it.
Without wanting to go too far down that path, swinging back around to the start of it, where you talked about the accents and stuff like that. I started to watch the second episode with my youngest. And he basically sat and went, "Why do all the dwarves have Scottish accents?" Like, they just
because Gimli did. I think they're basically because Gimli did. I think it was basically the reason.
I think it's because some point in the 80s, people decided dwarves were Scottish, and then it just sort of stuck, and that was it. And that's kind of because he did correctly sort of point out, you know, all humans don't have the same accent. So why do all dwarves have the same accent? Like, that's a very good point. You should write a letter.
I was thinking about that too. I was thinking, but I suppose people who live in the same region do have the same accent.
Yeah,
generally.
But the dwarves come from different mines and stuff like that, and they all still have the same accent.
But do they?
I think so.
I don't know. Well, I mean, but the ones we've seen so far, we don't know where they come from. But anyway, I was thinking about it, trying to work out whether it annoyed me or not. I thought on balance it did. And I wouldn't have noticed if everybody just had their own accent, or not necessarily the accent of the accent, but a variety of accents. I wouldn't notice. And everybody, like you say, speaking uniformly Scottish or Irish, whatever
it is,
is very noticeable.
Yeah, it's definitely much more. Could they not have done something differently a little bit here? But yeah, what can you do?
Yeah, and a couple of the characters, the Harfoots just remind me of the Derry Girls. I'm just waiting for them to one of them say something absolutely filthy.
Are you waiting for Mrs. Brown's boys to turn up?
Oh, don't even. No, let's not go there.
Oh dear.
So going back to games that we normally talk about.
Yes, we've gone off topic a little bit.
Yeah, there isn't much. I haven't got much news. DW Into the Dark, which obviously we've covered separately elsewhere. I did quite like the new Escher model they revealed. Is that this week? I think they revealed a new Escher model.
Yeah.
It's pretty smart. Bruce said, "Do you want sort of accent?" Yes. Yeah.
Bruce asked, "What sort of accent do the hobbits have? Sort of Irish?
Yeah.
Sort of.
So, yeah. Yeah.
Although Lenny Henry's very wildly veers between Irish and almost Jamaican. We're convinced he's going to do it at some point. But
So they should have spoken.
Sorry.
I
Yes,
actually, I don't know, I think I may have had that on live stream before. I actually production of The Hobbit at Sarehole Mill, which is where Tolkien grew up in Sarehole, and that's supposed to be Ted Sandyman's mill. That was a pretty cool thing to do back in there. I enjoyed that.
So
Morph says he was sad that the girls ended. Yes, Morph, it was absolutely brilliant. I love that.
So anyway, back to releases. Let's get.
Yeah, so there's not much. I've got Rings of Power starting on Amazon on the agenda. I think we've probably covered that.
Yeah.
I haven't noticed much else. And then so that would actually take us up to Pete. It would take us up to our Marlowe moment.
It would. I was just going to say that GW did have Nova Open, where they announced a bunch of stuff the other week.
Didn't we talk about that already?
I don't think we
I thought
did.
we talked about it already. Okay, that's my bad then. I thought we covered that last time. I've obviously been less busy.
So, anyway. But I mean, there wasn't masses on there that was interesting, at least to me. I mean, probably a lot of our watchers out there would be much more interested in it. But there was like the Leagues of Votan was showing off again. The Gorchos of Drom, which we know are coming now. Yeah. The Bloodpelt Hunter, which was a stupid model, I think, with he's got a crossbow and he's stuck a load of rope over his eyes. So how's he going to see? There was the
magic in it.
Magic. There was King Brod.
Magic.
A giant character model, because of course loads of people need that. Some Slaves to Darkness stuff.
Quite a cool model though.
It's not a bad model, but it's like, how many people are actually going to buy that? It feels a bit specific for my liking, but yeah. The new Horus model, which is Horus Ascended, which is quite cool.
Yeah, for those people who got massive Horus Heresy armies, because he's about 1 trillion points.
Yeah. And then there was the finally.
It's a pretty cool model, isn't it?
Sorry?
I don't know how much. It's a pretty cool model. I don't know how much it's going to be. I mean, I always just look at those models and just think, if I bought that, I'd probably screw up the painting, and then that's £90 to £100 or more down the drain.
I'd probably screw up sticking it together, because it's going to be thingy again, isn't it? It's
resin, yeah.
Resin.
I painted my brother-in-law for Christmas present.
You painted your brother-in-law?
Yeah, I painted him.
Body paint.
Yeah. I can't remember who it was then. That was an Imperial Fist. It was the Emperor's Champion.
Yeah, I remember.
But I made him put it together.
Yeah.
I said I'll paint it, but I'm not assembling it.
And then the other thing was the Khorne Berserkers, that they released the new Khorne Berserkers, because the old ones are about 20 years old or something, and they do look nice. They do look nice. They do make me kind of almost want to buy them, but I have resisted, because I know I'll just never paint them, even if I do assemble them.
Horus Heresy, what's that? I feel like I knew a famous Horus. I could come up with a heresy for him, but I'm
Hungry
struggling.
Horus? Is there a Hungry Horus?
Hungry Horus. Hungry Horus.
1-to-1 brother-in-law models are a nightmare to paint, says Bruce. Yeah.
I keep moving. That's the problem.
I feel like an airbrush would really get the undercoat on there properly.
Warhammer says he needs a King Brod in his life.
I mean, it's a nice model, but it's not the kind of thing, like, even with the Underworld's warbands, you could buy an Underworld's warband. You could even use it in RPG games a lot of the time. You could use it as monsters or NPCs, depending on which ones you bought. But who needs a character giant model if you're not specifically buying like a giant army?
An army. Yeah. I know what you mean. But I kind of feel like that's about nearly a single character model in the Age of Sigmar game. I mean, really.
Yeah, I guess that is true with like Alariel or whatever however you pronounce, or the giant war beetle thing. Some of them you can at least say, well, I bought
all
this
of them. The Lumineth.
Yeah.
Even the Chaos Demon. I mean, I guess you might have a Chaos Demon, but even the Chaos Demon, or what's his name? What's the new Chaos Demon? Well, he's not new anymore. The kind of beast one. I don't know what he's called. The kind of when Gur opened.
Oh,
no, he wasn't.
Yeah, I know what you mean. The big sort of centaur type beast thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them.
Just like I say, with all of them.
Yeah, some of them you could use them either as like the special characters. Like I remember back when the Orc Brutes first came out, and there was the one on the Wyvern, and you could assemble it one of two different ways. It could either be a special character, or it could be just a regular Orc war boss on a Wyvern. but you could just make it as the regular Orc War boss and say it's a special character if you wanted. So you had some reusability there, because you might want a boss and a wyvern, but you might not want to have a special character. But yeah, a lot of them now, it's just like, you're not going to use this for anything. Like the Nagash model, I love that model, but you know, you're only going to use it as Nagash. It's not going to be anything else.
Him more so than the others, because I guess like the new giant model, you could just use it as a giant.
Yeah, I guess you could with King Brod at least.
Yeah. I guess in the Ariel model and the Beetle, that's not gonna be too many. That can't be too many other things.
No, Lord Croak,
No.
That's another fantastic model. Lord Croak is a lovely model, but again, I mean, you could use him as a Slan, but it's a bit over the top as a regular Slan.
A regular Slan.
Slan
just
really.
Slan are just so. I mean, they're so old now. I mean, you know, they've been around since Warhammer, and they just seem so outdated. Yet they've kind of, you know, they're singing on by their little sucky hands.
I feel
which is great. I'm not complaining.
I feel like they're ones that GW could have really leaned into more and made their own, given their own look to. A bit like with Skaven, and they seem to have kind of given up with Skaven as well. It's like, when did they last have a big release of stuff? But they're one of GW's like biggest iconic races, I think, that isn't just that's just, you know, French knights, or that's just, you know, German foot soldiers, or whatever it is, you know.
So just French knights? You don't mean that, do you? You mean that is the best and most cool army there's ever been.
Something like that. But you could take the Bretonnian Knights and you could put them into what was that one you bought the other week? That book.
The Lion Rampant.
Yeah. So you could put them into that.
Yeah, well, you absolutely could. You absolutely could, and that makes them even better. But I know it doesn't make them even better from GW's point of view. But
I've got like an entire load
I've
got a box full of Bretonnian Knights in there.
Oh, have you? Because Ed was trying to get hold of some, so we should when we go to Agents we should give him a couple. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He was looking at some on Facebook and not Facebook, eBay, and they went for sitting with me. So maybe we should just we should if you've got some, then Ed would certainly like one.
I should take some of them.
Yeah, that's fine. But that's like a conversation that didn't need to be had on a live chat. But he doesn't have for why you should join us on Patreon, because we might just send you free models.
It's true. Might see free stuff. Going to bring a load of the Underworld's warbands along to Agents Con, so that if there's stuff, if there's warbands people haven't got in there, they're welcome to them. And also, I'll be bringing my binder machine, our binder machine, so that if anybody's got any rule books they want to bind whilst they're sitting around after a game, it'll be there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. More for talking about somebody I have heard of. I did say to Pete, I thought he played for Aston Villa. I think that was Tony Morley, actually, Pete. But he was talking about it's a great reset conspiracy horse. So yes, we definitely avoid conspiracy theories on this stream. So there may only be 15 of you watching.
What's the great?
Not the 100 or so.
I feel like
the
I might
great
regret
reset.
looking into it, but I might have to look into that.
Don't. Russell Brand. I came across it because somebody was talking about Russell Brand. And he's been talking about it, and he was showing basically why do we think Russell Brand into this, and on his YouTube channel, a bit like us, on factor of 10, he got like a couple of 100,000 views on most of his videos, and the ones he did about the Great Reset, he had a couple of million. So it's some. I haven't read much into that, but it's some conspiracy type thing. I think it was originally started by an economist. I think it has roots in some sort of genuine not science, but economic thought. But I think now it's taken on a life of its own. I don't know too much about it, so we probably shouldn't talk about it on here at all, because
it's gone sort of like the same way as there's no such thing as birds. They're all robots now. That one.
Well, yeah, I think so. I don't know enough about it. But
I'll
there
look it
is
up after this, just to see how much it hurts my brain.
You look it up after it, and then we'll never do a podcast again because it's been sucked in.
I do enjoy laughing. I do enjoy laughing at all the different conspiracy theories, like there's no such thing as real birds. There's obviously the classics like chemtrails and the Illuminati, and the more crazy ones recently going on and stuff. So yeah, it's always funny to read up on the new
the latest one.
Craziness. Yeah,
we have drifted, Pete, and we are running out. We've got 2 minutes to do the Marlowe moment.
Ooh,
and can you fire us up the Marlowe moment?
1 second, here comes the Marlow moment. There we go, Marlow moments. What's the Marlow moment?
I can't hear that at all. It's just Pete rocking side to side. So the Marlow moment this week is, if you were stuck on a desert island and could take only one game with you, what would you take and why? Now, I think it may depend a little bit on who you're stuck with, like if you're on your own, or whether you've got one person or 5 people or your kids. But what would you take, Pete?
Well, that's quite a difficult one, actually, because it does depend a little bit on who you're with. Obviously, if I was stuck on an island with you, then we'd just take all the underworld stuff. No, I wouldn't actually. That's a tricky one.
It's tricky. I think also it depends on the weather. If it's raining all the time or windy, there's no point in taking lots of tokens. I would take 7 Wonders at the moment. Not the Architects one that you've bought, but the full game. Assuming I had a group of us, because it's really easy to play. But each game is different, and you can't really get good at it. So I think that's what I would take.
I think I would possibly take. I think I'd probably take either a game. If I could take it with with all the extra bits added in, I'd either take something like Fire Team with the other teams in it, so you could play something like that.
Yeah.
Or maybe it would be something a bit more like Battle Masters, really. Something that was a bit more sort of all in one, lots of different ways to play it, kind of thing. I don't know, maybe something like that.
I would also take a life-size version of Captain Sonar, so that I could use the submarine to get off the island.
Well, I would take
battleships.
Sorry.
Battleships. Sail off on the frigate.
Well, I would take a life-size version of I can't remember her name now. I was just going to say some female actress's name, but I couldn't remember the one. But anyway, someone attractive and female.
Your wife.
Yes, definitely that one.
That's what you were going to say, in case she ever watches or listens back.
Oh God, she's behind me, isn't she? Yes, definitely my wife.
Brilliant. Right, well that takes us neatly, well it doesn't really, but it takes us on to the main focus topic of the evening, which is, and there's an article in this month's issue of Tabletop Gaming Magazine, which podcast viewers can't see, but I've really got into this magazine because I've been more into board games in the last few months. I've got really into this magazine. I read it, check out all the reviews.
Reading?
End up spending a fortune.
Reading will never catch on.
I love it. I love reading. And you're wrong for not. Anyway, this article is an article by a guy called Ben Maddox, and I tried to find him on Twitter so I could tell him that we were talking about it tonight. And I did find a board gaming guy who was called Ben Maddox, but I couldn't quite work out it was the same guy, and I was too shy to include the wrong guy.
You should have just gone for it. I mean, what are the chances? What are the chances?
I know. I kind of. He just looked a bit, high level for me. Yeah. No,
you could have just missed an opportunity for him to retweet it to billions of his fans and say, check these two out.
He didn't have that. So it's called the Carbide Manifesto. They have an article each month. But this month is called No More Components, Please. And I just thought you might. I'll read out the first paragraph. It struck a chord with me, and I looked at my house and the weight of stuff that's underneath.
You look behind you.
Behind me or the Lego. It's a dangerous proclivity. It's a proclivity bordering on a habit. It's a habit bordering on a dependency. It's a dependency bordering on a catastrophic addiction. An addiction that will consume us all in fire. An addiction that will drown us in the sea. Stuff. That is the opening paragraph of this article. Now, my wife has a thing. When anything new arrives in the house, ball games and things, she just goes,
something out.
Stuff. Right. Yeah, exactly. She doesn't even look. We don't look what it is, because that's the problem with reviewing stuff, is you do get sent stuff. And And then he goes on to say, modern day economics seeks to atomise us. That way, purveyors of useless tack can leverage our despair into fooling us. The way to save our problems is to fill up every available space in our homes with stuff. Not things that carry utilitarian or sentimental value, but stuff. Stuff that will moulder away at the bottom of a drawer. I'm not going to read the whole article out, but that is what we were going to talk about tonight, because it goes on to talk about how the board gaming industry has become a bit of a stuff generator for the sake of generating stuff. It talks about the Steam on, the amounts of plastic crap that they put out in there, ridiculously expensive. This is not Kickstarters, and it talks about those people who take pictures of 1,000 boxes that are bigger than themselves.
Yeah.
And it talks about how effectively the board game industry has just become this sort of way of just selling large amounts of crap that we don't need. And he then goes on to sort of suggest that maybe we need to take a step back with the current situation with price of everything and just he says there about just the world wearing us in the sea kind of thing. We go back to the humble food to denote things. He talks about a game tapestry, which, funny enough, I mean, this is a classic example. They can quite see this. I've got it there.
No one can see it.
I bought it. Oh, you can only see it because I can see my little square, but I'm cut off, aren't I? So so I've got the tapestry there, which is a Stonemaier game, which I thought looked really great, and I've never played it. So that in itself is bad enough because I haven't played it. But it has loads of plastic models in it, but they're entirely superfluous. They're literally just to denote the thing that they denote. They don't do anything. So he actually referred to that in the article. So that's what we wanted to talk about, really. And it kind of, as you said, Pete, tied into something that Andy Tapestry is a great player. I will play it. I've actually been working through my game collection with my son this summer, because now the summer's finished and we're back to school. But I will bring it out to play with them.
Maybe I'll play it on a Thursday night. Play it live one night.
Well, we should do. We should. I think it's quite complex. I might need to practice first.
Okay.
I think we should play it on a Thursday or a Monday or Tuesday or whatever night we're meeting. Yeah. Okay. So that is stuff. Do we have too much, and what can we do about it? Probably not much. And as you said earlier, it ties into something that
Andy Blackjack Legacy.
Andy from Blackjack Legacy talks about last night.
Yeah.
Which his gloom and doom, I suppose it was. I haven't seen it, but in terms of second half. What Pete said basically is the war game hobby in trouble now because places where people meet, sub venues, just won't be able to afford to open because they won't be able to afford the electricity.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was anything else to his thesis, Pete, because I didn't see it.
Yeah, I think that was mostly in a nutshell, is that because companies don't have a cap on their bills, like residential people, a lot of companies, a lot of local friendly game stores, even bigger company stores, won't be able to afford to actually stay open because it will just cost so much. They're estimating that pubs are going to be looking at having to charge £20 a pint to be able to break even on the energy bills and that kind of thing. And I think because of that, in the UK especially, but it's something that people are experiencing all over the world more and more, it's going to cause a lot of companies to go under. Companies that make these little board games, all the little additional things that you get for your games that maybe not the big players so much. GW, maybe they'll be able to ride it out a lot more, but a lot of the smaller people will go under. And with that, a lot of game stores that will be selling GW stuff, so that will hit them,
Well, yeah, I mean, but even just running the shop, I know GW are one of the few kind of companies that have their own shops, and running the shops will be prohibitively difficult. Doing everything well.
Yeah.
I mean, they're alleging cap prices, but there's no talk about what they're going to do for businesses, capping the prices. So, I think it is a worry, but I do think we as gamers have got into a trap of just thinking a game is good because it comes with extra stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that's a Kickstarter issue, or you can get all this extra great looking stuff if you sign up to the full Kickstarter or whatever. I know a lot of people who are listening to it have given up on Kickstarter, and I think that's partly why, because you end up just buying amounts of stuff you don't need, and not only that, you end up buying amounts of stuff that you don't see for a very long time. And by the time it comes, you actually want it even less. I know you've fallen. Now I've fallen.
Yeah. Yeah, I bought in Deep Madness or whatever it was called, or something like that. It was like 18, 20 months delayed. When it arrived, there was 3 massive boxes. I looked at some of the models and thought they looked lovely, and then I put it all under my bed and I never touched it again. I eventually sold it to my mate. I assume he's played it. I don't know. I never actually asked him because I immediately forgot about it because it was like I had so little connection to it because it took so long to arrive. I'd stopped caring about it by then, and I think one of the reasons why I bought it was, I can use some of these in my Nurgle army, which we'd stopped playing in the interim period whilst I was waiting for it. So
that's the other thing, isn't it? Everything moves so fast, and this is the thing I'm really bad at. I get into something, and I get stuff for it, literally, and then the next thing comes out, and I look at that, and I want that, and I think I was saying we should perhaps do a future podcast about this, but it's kind of the same thing, really, and that is I've already got good games on my shelves that I don't play, like Tapestry, perhaps. And rather than buying another thing, maybe I should go back, and play what's already there. So that was like, is there already the best game that I'm ever going to play? Do I already own it? Rather than always chasing the next really good thing. And you see that, and then you get this fear of missing out thing. So there's a game called Ark Nova, which is going mad at the moment, which I've never played or even seen. And I thought, I should get that, but I've no need to get it. I don't know anything about it. It's just because I keep hearing people saying it's quite good. And it might be brilliant. It might be the best game, but I don't need it because I've already got all these games that I don't need. And similarly, I think, Pete, you did sign up for the Warhammer Plus miniature this year, and I was thinking, when I started seeing things we've got there, maybe I should get that. I don't want it. I don't want it, but seeing people have it, and it's kind of got a slight exclusivity to it, immediately made me want it. And that's another thing that companies do, is that they play on our fear of missing out.
Yeah.
It's funny because I was really keen to get the Warhammer Plus miniature this year.
The Assassin.
Last year, keen to get it. But actually, by the time it had come round, I was like, it's come, and I'll put it on the song. I would like to paint it, but actually, timing-wise, I know that I probably won't get it. And that's partly why I didn't bother.
There was the game we played that had the cards with the community cards and the little hex board. I can't remember what that was called. It had the little standees on it. It had a computer game version. I can't remember what it's called now.
The Ascension game.
Yes. I remember when we played that. I said, I just need some little plastic figurines, but really, no, because it would make the storage of it like 3 times bigger, and we wouldn't paint most of them or really need them anyway, so it doesn't need that whatsoever. But it's just that immediate thing, you just think, could you just do some plastic models? Just set it off nicely. No, it doesn't need it.
Well, that's one of the good things about Moonstone. You can, in theory, print out the standees and play with it, which is really nice. I guess they're a small company, so they kind of almost have to do that to try and pull people in.
Yeah.
But could you imagine GW? I mean, you couldn't play full Warhammer, but there's no reason why you couldn't play Fire Team cardboard standees or Blade Born cardboard standees, and the game wouldn't be any worse.
No.
I mean, obviously you'd miss out on the hobby side of it.
Even like
if that's the
Blitzbolt.
thing, the original boat. Yeah. But if you're not into that, I mean, the original Blood Bowl, I think was that.
It was.
Wasn't
It was
the
standees.
original one.
Anything that's on a board doesn't need plastic components really at all, other than to make it look sparkly.
No. And it's a shame. There was going to be that game, Morph I remember better, it was designed by the guy who designed Warhammer Quest, and he used to work for GW, he doesn't anymore, and I've forgotten his name. But there was that football game that was going to be a Kickstarter that was going to have a with miniatures version, without miniatures version, and it never and then the company who was doing the Kickstarter just decided it was going to be miniatures, and I guess because they thought that's where the money was. But yeah, I think that I think companies are going to need to think about that with the current crisis and whether they need to spend so much money and time and effort. I mean, I guess any production costs are going to go through the roof. So if you can minimise those, you minimise your overheads. We always talked about Marvel United. That was one where I just decided I was never ever going to get involved with the CMON Kickstarter again, because I like the look of it, but it was just too many models,
too much stuff.
Being more for steady, he managed to pick up stuff as he went along, but I can't be bothered to do that every time I looked. Which wasn't very often. They were just too expensive. I gave up in the end.
Myth and Goal was the game by James Hewitt, who I can't remember what his handle was on Twitter. It was something Cat Games or something like that. Scaredy Cat
Needy?
Games or something. Sorry.
Needy.
Needy
I
Cat.
think.
Yeah, Needy Cat Games.
Needy
Like,
Cat Games. Yeah.
And James designed.
James designed.
It's funny because it's a conditioning I think that we've all had. Whether it was from GW originally, because they were probably one of the original worst offenders of this kind of thing, and I think that article mentions Games Workshop specifically, and then goes on to mention that CMON and CMON are one of the others that have prolificated that as well. But everybody's jumping on the bandwagon these days, and everybody's doing it. But GW is like one of the originals that, I mean, having the plastic model does look nice, but for many of us, I think very rarely do people buy some models and paint some models and then play with those models for months or years. I mean, you're lucky most of the time if those models even get put together. It's insanely brilliant if you actually paint them all, and it's almost unheard of to play more than like a couple of games with them as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've mentioned this before. I think I mention it every week. I feel like that's why Underworld is part of why Underworld has fallen away. Obviously, there are other reasons, but I think basically, if you've been into it from the beginning, you've bought all these models that you've either painted or not painted, but you've just got them on the side, not doing anything, because you can't play with them all. It's not possible. At least if you play, not for a channel. At least if you play Warhammer AOS, you can buy your army and you play that every week. And you might get them, you might play them. But the problem is, we love to have loads of stuff.
Yeah.
And then you end up with your grey pile of shame.
And people like GW, they've got an incentive, a very real incentive, to keep pushing new stuff. So they want to make you buy the latest Orc army, and then they're going to start dumping the next thing on you before you've even stuck that together. And then they're going to dump the next 40k thing on you, or the next board game, or whatever. Like you say, they'll leverage. It's not just GW, they all do this. GW are probably one of the biggest offenders because they are one of the biggest out there. But they're all doing it, they're all competing with each other. The more shiny new things that they can release, the more money they're going to make, and the more they can suck people in.
Yes, although of course, you made the point to me in private that you love me and you want to learn my children. No, that
everyone knows that. That's public knowledge.
That you might have predicted that GW would struggle to make money during lockdown, but actually they made record profits during that time. Obviously, there is a specific reason why, and there are lots of people at home exploring hobbies and things, so that doesn't allow for that. But there should have, in theory, been less money slushing about. And I think there's even less now. But will they just carry on? Will the big boys just carry on while the small guys fall to the wayside, or will the smaller guys be better because they can adapt a little bit more? It's easy to adapt. If you've got a small game with some small miniatures, you can very quickly, like the Moonstone guys, make cardboard standees, and people can still enjoy your games. GW can't do that. They can't suddenly start producing cardboard standees for everything that they make, or when they want.
No, I think there's a difference as well between when it's better. I'm using better in air quotes as well, because what is better? But I think there's a difference as well between Underworlds, not Underworlds, just I was looking at Underworlds in the background there, and it's just made me just stuck that nut.
No, sorry.
It's the difference as well between when you're playing something socially with other people. Like models make that look nicer because it's more thematic and it looks grander. But if you're playing a game, especially if you're playing a solo game, but if you're playing a small game like a board game, blitz bowly type stuff between just two people, standees don't really matter. It doesn't matter if you've got standees because it's not really, it's a bit like, not quite chess, but it's like old fashioned board games where you'd have little coloured tokens and things. That does the job because it's just to represent where things are on a board. If that makes sense.
We've been playing Tokaido. I don't think I've ever played with you. We've been playing Tokaido during the summer holidays. And that is got a beautiful board. It's all Japanese style artwork. But you literally just move, I don't remember what it is you move along the track now, but I think it is just little cardboard, not cardboard, wooden pieces to represent your colour. But I kind of say it's so unobtrusive what it is that you move. I can't even remember what it is. And there's another little tiny colour one for moving the score along. And I mean, but it's beautiful to look at, but it doesn't get in the way. It's not over-engineered. Now, and there probably already is, actually, there's probably a deluxe edition. It's the other thing he talks about in the article is that we have this new thing, it's having deluxe editions of games. Which is in the components, luxury components, which again seems to me like a total misunderstanding of what a board game is really.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we'll have more board games from a larger amount of people because actually getting around, going around somebody's house and all standing in their living room, maybe the pubs will survive because we'll actually all want to go to the pubs so we don't have to heat our own houses. I assume that's kind of why they were so big before TV. You used to go around for social times, but maybe we'll keep lots of bodies in a place, keep somewhere warm, doesn't it? So maybe places will be more sociable, but I'm not sure they will.
No, and I think one of the things that Andy was saying as well is that quite often when people have to make cutbacks, obviously they're going to put money aside for bills and food and all the necessities, but people might be more likely to not go to the pub or things like that. They might be more likely to spend that money on their hobby because they know they haven't got, they're not going to be going out, they're not going to be going on holiday or whatever, so they're going, I'm going to spend what little money I have on my hobby because I will paint it. We lie to ourselves, I will paint this, I will put it together, I will play with it, and I can get hundreds of hours of fun out of buying my GW army or whatever, whereas if I go to the cinema I only get a couple of hours worth of entertainment there. So value for money is definitely here, but it's not because you probably won't even put it together.
Cinemas feel like they're in trouble, but that's a whole different conversation. I mean, they have a problem as it is, but they are literally they waste vast amounts of electricity.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they're freezing cold. It's a massive, great screen. It's
Onitama. People are talking about Onitama. I don't think I've ever heard of Onitama. I'm going to have to look that up now. What sort of game is it, if you can briefly describe it? I'm going to look that up afterwards.
Mr. Marlowe's
Andrew
here,
Marlowe's here. Just in time you are. Hello, Mr. Marlowe. You have Mr. Marlowe moment, though, where we learned that Pete would take something like Fireteam to a desert island, and I would take Seven Wonders. Sorry you missed that. You'll have to go back and listen tomorrow.
It'd be that or a deck of cards.
And actually, over the summer, we rediscovered cards as a family, which was really nice because you can play a billion things with it.
Yeah, even if it's just 52 card pickup.
Funny enough, my son today, he said, "Oh, I've learnt a new game. It's really good." I just looked at him and went, "It's not 52 card pickup, is it?" And my other son said, "How'd you play that?"
Oh God!
It's so tempting to throw the cards on the floor, but
there you go.
I resisted. Onitama is sort of like chess, but not as obnoxious as chess. Interesting. I'm going to tell you that. But is it only a two-player game?
How can chess be obnoxious? It's one of the most dull games in the world.
You clearly haven't watched the Queen's Gambit. I think I said this last week. I've been trying to find good 5-player games because there's 5 of us, and 4-player games are easy to find, but 5-player games are much harder. But I can recommend if anybody's played it, quite good fun. It's called Space Base, and it doesn't have much stuff. It doesn't have much. It's cards. I don't think it would make a good channel game, unfortunately, unless there were lots of us. But it's good fun. It's Space Base.
Space Base.
There's a 2-player game on its arm. I've got a feeling now. I've said that. I have seen it. I just forgot what it's called. And so I did see a chess-like game, 2 players. So I thought, well, that'd be good. But my older son really likes playing quite cerebral games, and will probably wipe the floor with me. But we very, very rarely get to sit down and play a 2-player because one of the others comes along and plays. And of course, as soon as they know you want a 2-player game, that increases the chances of them wanting to join in. So we rarely get to play 2-player games. Oh, Bobby Humphrey's in. Hello, Bobby. I don't think I've ever seen you comment before.
Oh, hello, Bobby. Yes, welcome aboard. Sterling, glad that his wife isn't watching us right now. She'd be agreeing with us completely, or with you completely. So she doesn't think you'll ever put together I don't think you'll ever put together in pay 1/10 of your stuff. Yeah, I think that's very true.
Oh, we've got our friend from News XYZ, our dating site, are in the house. Yeah. You squash them, please. They clearly that's a good way of. They've got too much stuff going on. Much junk, maybe.
I do wonder if in this great, horrible world that we're currently this new phase of the world we're entering, where everything costs too much and nobody has any money and everything goes to shit. I wonder how many people are going to sit there and go, well, I'm glad I've got a massive mountain of grey stuff I can start painting now. I've got loads.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 things. One is the secondary market ought to be going up, because or the second-hand market, because people will be selling it in order to
pay the heating.
Eat. Yeah, pay the heating. Yeah. So that's one thing. But also, yes, people might actually get through their backlog because they don't need to buy anything. Bobby Humphrey says he won't let himself buy anything until he's finished painting what he has. That is, everybody tells themselves that.
Yeah.
Mate, if not, mate, I take my hat off to you if you can be disciplined enough.
Yeah.
Not to do that.
I mean, we get sent stuff, loads of stuff, and then
that doesn't help.
We get sent stuff which doesn't help because that is constantly diverting our attention from one thing to another. I mean, you can see on the shelf behind me with Underworlds and Aeronautica Imperialis and MCP. Although we bought all our own MCP stuff, we didn't get sent any of that. But it's just so many different things that we think, this will be the thing that will be our channel's focus, and then a month later there's something else. But I wonder I wonder how many people would actually end up selling their grey plastic mounted, just because when they come to actually putting it together, they realise I never really wanted this in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a load of Moonstone models, which I do want, and that we will play. But I bought them, and they're half painted, but then some are, and then the various other things that we've been sent to review have come in, and I haven't been able to get to them. And every time I think, I'm nearly cleared the backlog, something else arrives, which is a lovely position to be in. That sounds a bit like I'm moaning about that. Not at all. Because I really want to paint the Kill Team model. I really want to paint the scenery. But I can't do that and paint the Moonstone.
No.
Yeah.
And it's a bit unrelated, but I think that's how GW try and corner the market a bit, in that they bury YouTubers under free stuff that they spend their lives trying to get around to, and then they don't have time to cover anybody else's stuff.
It's part of it. Yeah, it could be.
Certainly a first world problem. It's not a bad one to have, but yeah.
Massive first world problem. Yeah, so I try not to buy too much stuff, but I get very captivated by stuff, and I guess that is the modern marketing stuff that works. I get really into the Lord of the Rings card game, buy a load of things. And very good. I think all of us are very good at convincing ourselves. Paint with your feet, Robin, then you can paint all the things. I think I'm certainly very good at convincing myself that I will find time to play it. Because if I just of readjust my day a little bit, then I can free up a couple of hours each day to play the Marvel Champions LCG, or the Lord of the Rings LCG. I could definitely do that easily. And the amount of time I must have told myself. I don't know. I'm an idiot. I'm idiot or gullible. One of the two.
Bit of A, bit of B.
Possibly both.
It's a bit like every time GW bring out a new version of a game like Kill Team, like this one's going to be much more playable. The rules are going to be much better in this one, surely. No. I was looking through some of the rules of the new Kill Team, and some of their close quarters fighting stuff is nonsense.
Is it? Oh,
yeah.
Good. I look forward to that then.
It's like, we're just not going to use any of them. We're just going to be like, can I see that model? Well, they're sort of sank in the way. Right, they're in cover then.
Yeah. Bruce says game mechanics are what intrigues him more than the components. Yeah, I mean, I'm a sucker for an interesting mechanic too, and I try now to not look at the components. But it can be very difficult to tell whether the mechanics are good or interesting until you've actually played them a few times as well, and that can fluctuate as well. You can play some games. I mean, you can play some games where you think, oh, this is really great, and then you find out actually it's really not great. It's the same every time, but then suddenly then you might unlock something else as you realise there's another way to stop. But game mechanics can I mean, they are where it's at. I mean, I would much rather play a game with good mechanics than nice pieces. But sometimes it can be hard to see beyond the nice pieces.
Yeah, I think quite often, and GW is a good example of this with things like Kill Team. The nice pieces make you just fixate on them. You're like, ooh, but actually, when you get down to crafting, the mechanics themselves suck. But it's too late. You've already bought this box with like 100 models in or whatever. You're like, I'm gonna have to do something with this now.
And I mean, it's even the games that have like Morph have just mentioned, Marvel Champions and Undaunted. They don't have any wizzy components. They're tokens and cards, but they're very nice tokens and cards. The artwork on the Marvel Champions living card game are very nice. They've got a lot of the comic book art, and the Undaunted artists is, they fit perfectly the game, and the tiles are really nice. So although they are fairly simple components, they're very nice simple components.
Alex Berry says that he's moved from army to skirmish games because of the time and the increased pile of shame. He now just seems to buy more games instead, and he envies the discipline of those who collect and paint and play. Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. Certainly, I feel like because a skirmish game should be easy to play, you can have more of them. It doesn't work out that way.
No.
And they're cheap as well. You don't feel like I bought a couple of rule books for skirmish games because they're just the rule books, like the little Rampant one. It comparatively wasn't very much money, but actually there's a very significant risk that it's just going to end up clogging up my bookstore.
Yeah.
For another 10 years.
Morph says that he's hoping to get his first game of Undaunted this afternoon with one stop co-op solo rules, or should he order some reinforcements? I'm not sure on that one. I don't know if you've got any of the reinforcement packs, Robin.
I haven't got it. I think I don't know whether we can comment on it now, but War Machine has got the reinforcements, but I don't know whether he's played the one-stop co-op solo rules to try it out. I mean, to be honest, if you want to play it and you've got those one-stop co-op rules, you might as well try them, I think.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. That said, Marvel Champions, I don't know if you've played against Claw yet, Marvel Champions against Claw is a really good gaming experience too. So I think I think you're onto a winner either way.
Alex Berry says that he's sorry, no, I read Alex Berry's. Mark Brennan says, did we ever play Betrayal at Calf? I think that was definitely one that we looked at a few times and sort of licked our lips, and then we didn't in the end.
I think I knew that I would never play it because it came with shed loads of plastic, didn't it?
It did.
And that was probably a game that didn't need it, I imagine. I don't know how it was, but it came with a shed load of plastic. But I've just put a dead hands comment as well. Which I'll read out in a minute. But I think I'm going to do it. I've heard it's quite good, but I've never played it. More stuff is good. Don't listen to those two. It's dead hands.
And Moore says that the good thing about token and card games is you can bin the boxes and put them in small storage boxes, or keep the large boxes and use it to store all your expansions as well. I mean, I've not bought any other board games where I've had to do that. Well, actually, I did with one, which was Exploding Kittens. But other than that, I think we tend to keep the games in their original boxes, even though there's lots of dead space in there, purely because.
Yeah, I'm very bad at throwing out boxes. I have to say. But funny enough, we went on holiday. We talked about what games to play, and my son was really into Seven Wonders. He really wanted to take Seven Wonders. And I, oh no, we can't really take that because the box is really big and it's got lots of components. And then when we looked at it, it's got a massive plastic insert, and actually, we didn't need to take all the cards because you don't need all the cards if you only need all the cards for the same player. So we knew we didn't. And most of them stick. And so we just took all the cards out, put it in a plastic bag, put a couple of plastic bags with the other tokens in, and it transported just fine. There's a few player boards, but it transported just fine. And so actually, it didn't need to be anywhere near as big.
I'm just wondering.
That's another whole conversation to have, is whether packaging needs to be more reasonable.
Yeah, but I think that one's not just limited to games like that.
Oh no,
everything is just
everything.
It's horrific. I mean, it's just so much plastic packaging, and it's just I can't say anything of it. It's just horrific. It is just terrible.
GW have done a little bit better. The Rivals decks come in cardboard rather than plastic.
Yeah.
Which is quite nice. There's actually, funny enough, in this magazine, there's a whole section on what's it there? Oh yeah, the top 10 of the best big games in small boxes.
Ooh.
So that's another article there.
I'm not going to buy that magazine because I'll just end up buying tons of stuff.
Sorry? Yeah, that is part of the problem with buying it.
It's a bit ironic, really, isn't it? There's a magazine with an article about us buying loads of stuff that advertises loads of stuff to buy.
Yeah, but it's more talking about the boxes themselves more than That's what I'm telling myself. Yes, this 10 big games in small boxes nearly cost me an absolute fortune. I managed doing this.
So I'm trying to think where it all started really with these kind of things. Obviously with GW they had things like Hero Quest and Space Crusade that they brought back out in the day that had lots of figures and Battle Masters and stuff like that. They all started that trend of lots of models in a box to play a game, and obviously GW released their big almost yearly revisions of either 40k or AOS or whatever, which has a new, and they started doing the Lord of the Rings ones as well, a big army and stuff. And of course everybody does that. Everybody's doing like, here's a box with 2 armies in and all the rules, and you can get crashing straight away.
I think what did it was the success of Simon Games and Kickstarter, and the fact that you can render models in 3D packages that look amazing, and then people want them. Like the Zombicide one that they did for Marvel, the models in the 3D renders, the models look amazing, and people love Marvel, and you can people love getting a bargain, and the way Kickstarter is set up is to make you feel like you're getting a bargain, and the more you buy, the better the bargain you're going to get. And this actually feeds in this. My mum used to be like this. She if there was a bargain, she'd buy loads of it.
Yeah. Which is exactly why they do the bargain in the first place.
Well, exactly. And that's the whole way supermarkets work, isn't it? With the centralised of all the cheap stuff. And she would buy more than she ever needed. And there's a classic thing about the guy who is the watermelon seller, and I can't remember it now. I'll probably get it wrong, but he sells watermelons for £3 each. £3 each, or
3 for a tenner.
£3 each, or 3 for a tenner. That's right. And then lots of people were going in and buying 3 for £9, or buying them separately and paying £9 and thinking they were coming out on top. Which
says, just so you're aware.
Yeah, it's a classic thing of just, if you think you're getting a bargain. Particularly, I don't think Kickstarter particularly think they're getting one over the seller, but you think you're getting a bargain, and I think you're really not, because you end up not using the stuff. And I don't quite know where the profit. I suppose the profit comes, or the profit margins are worked into the seller, and of course the big margin cost of things. someone's stuff. But you might be getting a bargain. You might be getting £500 worth of plastic for 300 quid, but you're probably only ever going to use £100 worth of it.
If any, assuming you don't, it doesn't arrive, and you don't just.
Well, there's a lot of people. If any is the case, I mean, I've tried to buy the Kickstarter that I end up not playing with them. And I think that's the other problem with the Kickstarter is that you can almost, like we kid ourselves that we can find time to paint stuff. You kid yourself that you can find time to play it, and you're even deferring the problem because you haven't got to find time. By the time it arrives, my life will be different. I'll be more organised then, and the children will be older, so I can play with them, etc., etc., etc. Self-justify. And then, lo and behold, 2 years later, the game that you've completely forgotten about turns up, and you don't want to play it because you're not interested in it.
And you've already watched someone else play some playthroughs and you've given up caring about it.
Yeah, can you remember the 2 Kickstarters we backed, Pete?
No.
Or no, exactly. We backed one by Creature Caster, yeah. Well, one we kind of joined in at the end.
All right.
So we didn't so much back it as we just it was funded and we got we went in on the basic kit afterwards.
So I remember the Creature Caster one that you mentioned it, the hex-based sort of Underworld's equivalent type thing. And
then one called Senjutsu, which is a Japanese sort of equivalent. I think in one of the gaming magazines it referred to it as a new Underworld. Right. We made it at the basic level. But I mean, there are reasons why, obviously, but they're behind schedule. I don't think they're close to fulfilling, and who knows when they're fulfilling. We might have gone home and not be doing the channel anymore. By the time they arrive. So the Creature Caster one feels a bit like that.
There was that other one we never did get in the end, but it was the Super Fantasy Brawl one.
Yeah,
that was another one which we did manage to dodge.
Great game. People love that, but we've never. Yeah.
Every now and then I see it and I just think maybe I'll just get the base game or something like that. But I just I think and another thing I do is I think maybe if I get that will be the thing that my kids will be really interested in. That will get me into gaming, and it's not so.
I've come to the conclusion that my kids don't want to play miniatures games, so I'm not even fine with those anymore. But they do love War of the Rings, the card game behind me, which you can't really see.
I wonder if it's because it's a card game, it's quicker to play, and therefore there's not as much upfront faff.
Yeah, that could be it. I don't know what it is about that because actually it's really quite complex, and it really. It really invokes the books and the stories, I think, and it's a bit asymmetric as well. So, I mean, they've tended to play the bad guys. I think it's slightly easier to win for the bad guys. I say that I haven't won yet, but but it really captures how the books work. And they've never played those, but they love it, and the artwork is great. That helps. Enough talking about stuff and what things are like. But there isn't a miniature in sight, but it's captured them.
I think overall, the stuff, why we keep buying stuff, why we have loads of stuff, I think it comes down to just the fact that we've been conditioned to want this stuff, and if you have a game and all the pieces are little bits of wood shaped or coloured meeples or card, it always feels like there's something not quite there without that plastic 3D element to it. I think it's because we've just been conditioned with a lot of games now to feel like it needs that, but a lot of them really don't.
Maybe. Yeah, I feel like my problem is different to that. I don't actually feel like I need the plastic. I do feel like I do fall foul of the thing of thinking that the next thing that I buy would be the next thing that I love and that will play loads and it things sound brilliant and I want to get part of that. And doing the channel as well, the amount of times I bought stuff and thinking it's going to be the thing that makes the channel go from tens of viewers to 20 viewers.
Yeah.
or hundreds of views. You know, it's going to be the thing that propels. And I think, oh, that looks amazing. People were going to love that. I mean, Marvel Crisis Protocol, I know that is a miniatures game. I was sure that when we played that, people would watch it and that people would love it. And that clearly wasn't the case. So I think I'm a really bad judge of what people want to watch. But I convinced myself that this thing that I get, like I backed the dice throwing game because I was sure that we would play it on the channel and people would love to watch it. Now it's arrived. The kids enjoy it. I don't even know if I want to play it on the channel. I've got tired to play it on the channel. We should play it on the channel because it's not a bad game and it's just come out. The Kickstarter's been fulfilled. It's just come out in the US at least, in the shops. So we probably ought to play it on the channel. It might be the thing that makes us really big, Pete.
Yeah, I think we saw that with Moonstone. Moonstone, that'll be the next thing that makes it really big now. Aeronautica Imperialis. Well, that's nice and quick and fun.
Yeah, we need to follow up on that next time. I think we did generate a few new viewers. Then we kind of fell off for some holiday time. So in the autumn, we need to get back on the Moonstone, digging up some Moonstone. But this year has been, I think, typified by us flailing around, trying to find something that we enjoy in the way that we enjoyed Underworld, in our Underworld heyday. And that's part of the problem with stuff, I think. I don't know about you, but I have been struggling to find my hobby mojo for about 12 months at least now. what is it that I want to do? What is it that I want to play?
And I think that's more trouble for us because we're
board games.
Yeah, I think that's a problem for us more because we're doing a channel. If we weren't doing a channel, we just wouldn't do anything. Yeah. It's like we would just either, like you say, we'd just either play board games or something. We just do whatever.
Watch telly.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this is the end of the channel. Ages Connor's been cancelled.
Yeah, we're done.
And we're out. Yeah. No, that's not true at all. Actually, I'm really looking forward to meeting everybody because I think that might help. At least not kickstart my hobby manager, but at least it's been quite a long. I still haven't seen that many people, even though COVID kind of.
You just see the same small group of people.
Yeah.
There's a little chat going on. Sterling Northam suggested that maybe we need some kind of AA for miniature gamers to try and stop us from buying more and more stuff that we don't need. So every time somebody announces some new shiny thing, they could go to that group and go, I'm really tempted by this new shiny thing, and everybody in the group could just go, you're not going to play it though, are you? You don't really need to do. You've got lots of other stuff, and then they go, yeah, that's true, and then they wouldn't buy it. I've managed to get quite good at doing that myself, mostly because of the channel, because I sit here and think, I'd really like that Horus Heresy 40k, whatever it is, but I think I'm never going to play it on the channel, so I'm not going to bother because I won't have any time outside of the channel. Yeah, I think it's being able to stop long enough. Like if they on the Kickstarters, if they had the Kickstarters, they said you can put yourself down for a copy now, but you don't buy it for another 18-24 months. If they then came back to you 18-24 months later with the box saying, do you want to buy it now? I reckon 90% of people would just go, nah, not really.
Absolutely. The potential of what the game might be is actually more appealing than the reality of what the game is.
Yeah.
I think it's partly why the model is what it is.
Yeah, the model is literally there just to. It's the pretty lady lounged across the sports car to really try and get your attention into buying the thing that afterwards you're just sitting there going, but now I've got a sports car, I don't know what to do with it, kind of situation.
Yeah, I'm just catching up all these comments. Mine have popped down to all the porn.
Stop clicking on it.
So and then all these pop-ups came up, but I didn't know what to do. Yeah, I'm just trying to read through these comments. I haven't played London North. I did have a copy, and then I think I never played it. So in the end, I gave it away. But it's a Martin Wallace game, I think, but it's probably pretty good.
And Morph does point out that, like a lot of us, after a really crappy long day of dealing with kids or work or commuting or whatever else it is, just generally putting up with life in the general shite state that it is these days, you quite often don't have that motivation to then want to go and play something either. So I think a lot of times looking at something and thinking, that looks exciting, I reckon I'd play that. You buy it, but then when you get it, you sit there and it has exactly the same level of excitement as all the other things you've got, and you just don't play that either.
That is very much an issue. It's quite funny when we try, because we played a lot of games this summer holiday, but when we try and pick a game that we want to play, the four of us, my wife's normally working, but the four of us, we're like, we can never agree because we never, like, somebody doesn't like that one or doesn't want to do that one. I can't play, trying to corral the kids from that one, and then we end up, oh, well, we should play this one, and we always play because but we can't break out of our comfort zone.
You always end up watching Friends reruns again.
Yeah, basically, yeah. We're watching Modern Family, but it's essentially the same thing.
Yeah. Then we have hit at 11 o'clock, so I think it is at the end of our rambly streams.
It was very rambly today. Thank you for watching, everybody. Who knows what we might play in the future.
Yeah, for anybody still around, either listening on the podcast or on the chat now, thank you for joining us this evening and listening to our rambles. Do go over to Facebook, like and subscribe over there, and on YouTube and all those kind of places, and ring the bell so you can catch these live in the future. And let us know what is the last thing you bought where once it arrived you never looked at it afterwards. What is that thing? Love to hear what people's comments are on that.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know what's the thing you've never played and should play. Maybe we should have a sort of amnesty type thing where people name a game that they should play, and then next month they have to come back. They have to have played it. I don't know how we'd enforce it.
We've had a request for us to play Space Crusade, so maybe we should break that out at some point.
Right, okay, you've got that. I haven't got that, so that's on you. So yeah, I'll happily give it a go.
It's not painted, but it doesn't need to be. It's all coloured plastic.
We'll get on with it. So that's what I was going to say. I've been trying to struggle what I was going to say. More so about finding the motivation to play after a day of dealing with shit clients. You mentioned that comment, but if I've had a crap day or I'm tired, I want to paint now. That mindfulness keeps me going.
Yeah.
When
it's just about painting as well, it's that thing of you might want to paint one or two stormtroopers or one or two space marines or a couple of gene stealers or whatever it is, but you don't want to paint a whole freaking army of them.
And that's why Underworld is so good, isn't it?
Yeah.
In that respect, that's the draw of Underworld. Yeah, it's quite funny about saying that if only there were more people to play with. By the time, because obviously Pete and I do this on a Tuesday and a Thursday night, by the time I've done that, it almost feels like, and trying to fit in a third gaming session with people who aren't my children, feels like it's too decadent. It's 3 nights of gaming out of 7 in a week. It just feels like it's just too decadent.
Bobby Humphrey says the main reason he's looking forward to having children is some people he can force to play board games with him. It's not worth it. If they don't want to, it's not. It takes all the fun out of it.
I have to say, I wouldn't necessarily. It's probably cheaper to pay hookers than play with you. That's probably what I would say, and probably less stressful as well to do it that way. There's a small chance of being arrested, I suppose. But ultimately, I have finally got there. But my oldest is nearly 17, and that's quite a long time to go. And but we have had fun this time, and possibly it's been worth it.
It's only been 17 years in the making.
Yeah. Well, okay, it's now nearly 10 past 11, so I think we should definitely stop now.
Definitely stop.
Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. I don't think we've got a topic in mind for a couple of weeks' time, but hopefully something will let us know that.
Maybe it'll be about Agents Con, because it'll be the week of Agents Con.
Yeah. Do remember that we're around on Thursday. We're going to be playing the War of the Rings, the card games. If you're into that or into looking at Lord of the Rings stuff, then do tune in for that. And we'll see you soon on the Agent Signal.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.